for now, let's just talk about why we're here. So, of course, everybody's here to learn how to code, understand coding more, get more in depth. Some people already have a little bit of experience. Some people are starting at with zero experience. And either way, it's fine. If you have some experience, this would be good to brush up on. But if you don't, I'm going to take it really slow, make this as understandable and digestible as possible, just to keep it, keep your enthusiasm up, keep you seeing that this is really possible. Not that I'm going to teach you like a first grader. It's that this really isn't as hard as it's been sold to us as it is. All right. It's really not that bad. When I first started learning how to code, before I started learning, I thought this was only for geniuses. So when I sat down to learn, I really had to have my confidence all the way up. I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to get beat up, but it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. So I just want to kind of relay the information to you the way that I was taught from my first mentor, and just try to keep this really simple. Okay, cool. All right, so what we're going to be doing is learning how to code. I'm really big on building applications, like learning through applications, learning through projects. So I'm going to make this whole course project driven. All right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building an online store. All right. That's what the end goal is to build a static online store, something really simple. And then later on, if people want to continue and go all the way, we can actually make it a dynamic online store, meaning it's alive. Like people can actually order things from your website. And on top of that, we partner with a drop shipping company that will fulfill your orders. Drop shipping meaning they hold all of the inventory inside of their warehouses, or they print things for you. You never have to touch the product at all. Instead, somebody presses a button and the order is fulfilled and sent out to your customer, right? So I really think this is a cool project because one, it gives you experience on building a real life application. And two, if you stick all the way through, if this is something that you want to do, once again, this isn't for everybody. If you want to go all the way, you can actually build your own store and maybe even start making some revenue from it. So I just think it's a twofold type of thing, something that really incentivizes you to go even further and stick with it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, she's back. Cool. If you ever have problems with your internet, one thing I want to start with is just let you know, try to shut down everything on your computer or your phone, whatever you're using, to only be watching this video. That way you're not, nothing else is pulling resources and slowing down this video. Streaming takes a lot of memory. It's very consumptive. So just try to end other things if you can. Try to be on some really good internet when you join these live sessions, and also try to just follow along. Try not to go ahead and try different things out, get into activities. This session right here is strictly for just watching, learning, taking notes, and asking questions. Okay, so use the chat box to wisely if you can. Try not to just blurt out different statements or things like that. If you need clarification, please by all means ask it. Or if you have suggestions to help somebody else out, by all means, please just ask it. Okay, let's just use that box wisely. That way, I'm not always peeking over there to answer every question or respond to things that probably aren't pertinent to this lesson. Most things can just be asked on Slack. All right, cool. So what I have right here in front of me is called a wireframe. All right, so a wireframe is pretty much the skeleton of a website. After this, you'll be looking at websites now very differently. You'll always probably see the skeleton now. You'll be looking and say, oh, behind the scenes, this is what it probably looks like. So these wireframes are usually handed to you by a designer. When you work at a tech company, or even if you get a job from a client, they'll usually sometimes have like a skeleton like this that says, hey, I already know what I want. This is what it looks like, and I just need you to bring it to life. Need you to add meat to the skeleton, right? I need you to actually code the structure out, and then later on we'll add other design on top of it, other elements on top of it, like buttons, colors, fonts, arrows, input fields, like the real meat of the website. So I wanted to start with this is because it's good to know where we're headed and what we're starting out with. So this is just the layout. This is the foundation. And once we structure it, we can make it look pretty later. Okay. One thing I like to clarify is that We are developers, okay? We're programmers. We're not designers. You can do both. Some people do both, but it's not like a regular thing. You're not expected to know how to design a beautiful website and build that beautiful website. So what I want to focus on is learning how to build it, learning how to create these elements, and then let the designer later on tell us how to make it prettier, right? We create the structure, and then they can tell us, okay, these are the colors I want. This is the color scheme I need. This is the logo I'll need. They'll create the logo. This is the font I want to use. This is the amount of spacing and padding I want between elements. Let them come up with all of that. And the only thing we have to do is execute it, okay? So don't beat yourself up if you can't build something that's beautiful. That's not our job. But as you go along, you can learn how to design as well, which is what I have been doing. I actually fell in love with learning how to design. It's really cool. I love building things that look beautiful and user friendly, but it's not a requirement to get a job or to start your own tech company. Okay, so this wireframe is a representation of what our online store will look like. Okay, so we have at the top we have a hero image. A hero image is just this big image, right? That people see as soon as they log onto the website. You have the links up top, okay, and we're going to add some links. We're going to add in the middle here, opening statement. Pretty much this is just where you sell people or remind people why they're there, why they are shopping on your store. You know, just that brand driver, that proposition, that value proposition that makes them want to shop with you. And then we're going to have some products we're going to list here. All right, they're going to be kind of side by side on mobile. They should stack on top of each other. We'll get to that later. And then at the bottom, we're going to have a footer where you just have any other kind of links, maybe copyright, anything else that you want to put inside your footer. So we'll get to all of that soon. But I just want you to get used to this skeleton right here, the structure. This is what we're going to bring to life. Okay. And by the time we're done, it's going to look something like this. Not just like this, but just something like this. This is just an example. Got to get rid of that promo code. So up top, you see we have this huge header, right? This big image. That's our hero image. Over here, we have some links. Then we have some text on top of our hero image. This is what you're going to be bringing to life. But it starts with the wireframe, right? It starts with the wireframe. Same thing. Here's my opening statement here. Here's some images, right? And just keep on going down. You'll see like you can kind of see the skeleton here. You can see what it looked like before we started adding this color, these images, this text, right? You can still see the layout. And that's what's important, is learning how to build these cool user-friendly layouts. So this is the home page, right? On top of that, we're going to link to some other pages. We're going to have a product page, pretty much where when somebody clicks on your product, they'll be driven to this page, which is just strictly information about your product. So we're going to have an image, we're going to have our logo, we're going to have a product name, product price, and then a product description. All of these things are just elements, right? You'll hear that word a lot today. Element. An element is pretty much just some type of content that goes onto the page that you code onto the page. So this will be an image element. The logo will be an image element. The product name will be a heading element. The product price will be a text element. The product description will be a paragraph element. So it's going to be really simple. We're going to get into it. I just want you guys to get used to hearing that word element. This is a button element down here. After that, we'll also have a get in touch page. This is a contact us page, pretty much where this will be the layout, logo, heading, and then some input fields. Okay. And then lastly, we'll have an about us page where people can just pretty much learn why we started this company. So you guys will be coming up with this text for your own store. You'll be coming up with your own logo. I'll show you how to create a really, really basic logo. No sweat to it, really. All right, so I'm excited. Let's get into it. Let's start doing some coding. Can't wait to see what you guys think. So what we're going to be using for some of these lessons, we're going to be using multiple resources, but one of my favorites is Code Academy, okay? Code Academy. Don't worry about it right now. Don't try to create an account right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link. It's going to be in the homework to create your own account on Code Academy is free. They do have a pro version, but don't worry about that. All right. Instead, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing this lesson called Introduction to HTML. Okay. So they have a bunch of different things. Like they can teach you JavaScript, they can teach you Python, they can teach you all these other things. But the introduction to HTML is all we need to worry about right now. All right. But we're not going to just be doing just this coding here. I'm going to show you how to take what you learn on here and build your own applications. OK, so let's see. Over here is what it looks like on Code Academy once you're in and you're starting your lessons. I really love the Code Academy interface because it breaks things up in a section so you can see everything in one view. OK, so over here to the left, we have like the learning section where we read about the lesson. And they even give us some tasks at the end of the section. In the middle over here, we have the text editor. This is where we'll be actually typing our code at. OK, and then over here to the right, we have a little mini browser. The mini browser is where we'll see exactly what we coded in action. OK, so it's really cool. I like this interface. It helps you see things immediately, get that instant gratification, which is why I love HTML, because you can add some code and instantly see the results. Okay, so let's get started. I'll jump into what is HTML, right? I'll read through some of this, but you'll also be doing these lessons yourself, so I'm not going to read through all of it, but I'll breeze through the important parts. HTML, welcome to the world of code. Last year, millions of learners from the community started with HTML. Why? HTML is the skeleton of all web pages, okay? The skeleton of all web pages. Now, before we go even further, what I'm going to do is I want to break down what is a browser. All right. Right now I'm inside of a browser. This whole thing is inside of a browser. A browser is pretty much, it's an application. It's a web application or a mobile application that that allows you to that displays information, that displays content. Right. It displays all type of content. It can display a PDF file. It can display a text document. It can display an image. It can also display HTML documents, right? That's what we're going to be building. We're going to be building these HTML files like this, index.html. It has an HTML extension. So the browser is really powerful. It was first built back in the 90s. And the whole one of the main purposes was to be able to read HTML elements and display them, right? So the browser knows how to read these elements and based on what element is here, it knows how to present it to the user, right? So right here, we have an H1 element. So the way it works is pretty much when you're coding HTML, you always start with an open bracket. You type the name of the element, which is a tag name. This was an H1. We'll talk about that in a second. You type something in between it. Then you close that tag. You close that element. Just like that. So H1 pretty much tells the browser, right? The browser knows how to read this. It means heading 1, meaning make a big heading. H1 is the biggest type of heading you can have, right? So if I click run, you'll see Africa is pretty big. You can't tell because I don't have anything else on the screen. Let's say I put America on the screen, just plain text, because everything doesn't have to be within a tag, right? So let's just say we just put America on the page. Check out the size difference. America is way smaller than Africa because Africa is a heading, right? We told the browser to make it a heading. So now over here in our browser knows how to read this and make it bigger than regular text, okay? And also you'll notice you don't see any H1s over here. You don't see any elements in the browser. Instead, the only thing you see is the actual content from within it, within the tag, all right? The text, the raw text in the tag. There's other kind of headings as well, H2 or H3. Let's see if we do it. H2 is a little bit smaller, right? Let's see, I do China. Okay, and then I run that. China is a little bit smaller because it's a different heading. H3 will be even smaller than that. Let's go with Alaska. Click run. Boom, Alaska is even smaller than China, which is even smaller than Africa, right? So the cool thing here is that you can go all the way down to H6. H6 is the smallest heading and it's really actually really small. Let's call it Cuba. Click run. And then now you see Cuba is even smaller, right? Really, if you're going to use H6s, you might as well not even use them at all, unless you just want small text. But the point is, this is how you start. This is how coding works. This is how the browser interprets the code. It literally just goes down the screen, right, from top to bottom, reads one line at a time, and then applies it, and then presents it to the screen, presents it to the user. Okay, so H1 is a huge heading, H6 is a small heading. Every single time you open up an element, you need to close that element. So H1 has a bracket, H1, close bracket, raw text, and then you close it. Close it means you add this little / right before the tag name. So you open this bracket, add a /, tag name, close bracket. When you first look at it, you're like, what the heck, I have to type this, but you'll get used to it. You'll really get used to it. You'll be typing as fast as this every single time. And then you'll make errors too, like me. All right. So it's really cool, really straightforward. I'm kind of jumping ahead. Don't worry about it. I just want you guys to get used to seeing these tags and knowing how it's working, how the browser is even seeing this. Like, how does it make these things different sizes? It's just that the people who created the browser and the people who created HTML, they have a protocol. They have a language in between. They understand each other. They know anytime you use H1, what I have to do. Anytime you use H2, what I have to do. HTML is the skeleton. It's usually the first language learned by marketers and designer, and it's core to front-end development. All right, front-end development is what we're focused on. Like I said, back-end development is the more advanced, not even more advanced, it's just more challenging. It's just a different way of thinking. And we'll get to that as well too if people want to go that far. But front-end development is great. I started off with front-end development, and then I got heavy into back-end development, which is like databases and algorithms and stuff like that. And I thought that I would be focused on back-end development because it's a little bit more challenging. I thought that's where I would have to focus so I can get a job in that. Come to find out, every job that I got was because of my front-end development skills. HTML, CSS, what we're learning today, JavaScript, right? It's a huge skill that's in demand, heavy in demand. So that's why I really want to focus on this, because not only is it heavy in demand, it's also easier to understand. So it's a great introduction to getting into software development. It helps build your confidence, and it's needed. So it's really cool. It's like a double-edged sword, double win. HTML, what is it? It provides structure to the content appearing on a website, such as images, text, or videos. So the key word here is structure, right? Structure. Look at this wireframe again. It's structured. It has a layout. It have a top, a middle, a bottom, and all the way down at the bottom, right? It has things over here to the right. It has things centered, right? That's structure. The opposite of structure would just be a bunch of text or a bunch of elements just going straight down the page, right? And just imagine a bunch of images going down the page. There's no real structure to that, right? Instead, over here, we have images side by side, right? Or we have images going straight across the page instead of just a little box. So that's what HTML is good for, providing that structure to your web page. Don't worry about that. Let's talk about what HTML stands for. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. All right, let's talk about what a markup language is. Markup language is a computer language that defines the structure and presentation of raw text. So HTML is not the first markup language, right? There's other markup languages, but pretty much what they do is it's just, like I said, create a protocol. It creates a way for some browser or some other program to interpret what is it supposed to do, right? So this markup language, HTML, it likes to use these brackets, and then it adds a tag name in between. Right, so don't worry about other markup languages. There's a couple other ones, but they're not as popular, or they're used for really specific things. So it just helps structure the presentation of raw text. In HTML, the computer can interpret raw text that is wrapped in HTML elements. Raw text, which is like Africa, Jamaica, China, Alaska, that is wrapped in HTML elements. H1, H2, H3, H6. Okay? Hypertext is displayed on a computer or device that provides access to other text through links, also known as hyperlinks. Right? So hypertext is just pretty much just like these texts that you can turn into links that links all this content on the internet together, right? Learning HTML is the first step to creating websites, but even a bit of knowledge can help you inject code into snippets, inject code snippets into newsletters, blog, or website templates. So this is important because just imagine learning some code, just some fundamentals of learning how to code, and you start working with something like WordPress. WordPress is a blogging software / platform that allows you to build websites really, really quick by using a template. So you just pretty much pick a template and you can launch it, right? The cool thing is if you learn some HTML, you can tweak those templates. That's the really cool part about it. So I find templates that I use to build some of my clients' websites, right? But those templates aren't always perfect. Sometimes an image is too big, or the color scheme is off, or the buttons they have rounded corners and I don't want rounded corners, whatever it may be. If you know a little bit of HTML, your job is easier because now you can pick a template that looks pretty good and you don't have to build this thing from scratch, but then tweak it to your liking or tweak it to your client's liking. As you continue learning, you can layer HTML with CSS and JavaScript to create visually compelling dynamic websites. But for now, we're going to focus on how to add and modify basic content on a page, like text, images, and videos. Don't worry if the website looks ugly. We're just getting started. All right. So it's really cool. Any questions so far? I want to stop right here just to see what you guys think so far about HTML, about the browser, and even about these elements. We're going to jump deeper into some coding now. Just want to make sure everybody's okay. If you're okay, just type okay in the chat box and I'll move on. Okay. All right. I also just posted a little poll. Good to hear everybody's all right. Everybody's good. Cool. I just posted a little poll and pretty much just asking, how do you guys feel? How nervous you are? How confident you are? Just okay. It's okay to be transparent. It's okay to be nervous. It's all right. It's natural. But I know some people also are just like out the gate, kicking those nervous feelings out the way. So either way is good. I just want you guys to get used to this poll functionality and start seeing that I can ask you guys some questions, and we'll use this a lot more down the road. All right, cool. Look like we got an 80-20 situation going on. Pretty natural. The other sessions we did, it was pretty much the same kind of results. So overall, we know people are a little nervous, but a lot of people also believe that they're going to be able to get through this. Even the nervous people, I probably should frame this different, because even if you're nervous, that doesn't mean you don't believe you can do this. So I get it. Okay, let's keep it moving. So also at the end of Code Academy lessons, what they'll do is they'll give you some exercises. So what they want us to do here is in the code editor to the right, type your name in between the H1 and close H1 tag. So let's go H1. And there you go. And then press run. Press run. Boom, there we go. So now I have my name in a heading. Oh my God. That's so crazy. Okay. Sorry, just got a crazy call. Um, cool. Next. So this is one reason I really like Code Academy. It's because they have an anatomy file, anatomy page, pretty much where it starts breaking down the anatomy of HTML, right? So let's talk about that. Like I said, we have a skeleton. It makes a skeleton. So now we can get a little bit into some more details. HTML is composed of elements. These elements structure the web page and define its content. Let's take a look at how they're written, right? So this whole thing is an element. The element is composed of an opening tag, the content, which is like the raw text, and then a closing tag, and that makes up an element. The diagram to the right displays the HTML paragraph element. As we can see, the paragraph element is made up of one opening tag, the content hello world, and a closing tag. A tag and a content between it is called an HTML element. Okay? A tag and a content between it is called an HTML element. There are many things, there are many tags that we can use to organize and display text and other types of content like images, right? So P tag right here just stands for paragraph. That's all it stands for. It says like, hey, make me some paragraph on the page. That's what the P stands for, right? We can also use IMG, which is an image tag. We're going to get into some other tags here in a second. All right, let's quickly review each part of the element picture. HTML element, or simply element, a unit of content in an HTML document formed by HTML tags and text or media it contains. Really straightforward. It's just saying it's a unit of content. It's a bunch of content that forms everything else that you see on the page. Now let's break it down. Let's break the element down. The tag, the tag is pretty much anything that has a name, like this P. So this is a P tag. That's what you call it. You just call it a P tag. And it's surrounded by an opening bracket and these opening and closing angle brackets. So you can find these brackets by holding Shift and clicking M. All right, Shift M is how you find these brackets. And then, Shift comma or Shift period, but it's right next to the M key. That's what I always tell people. It's right next to the M. All right. So opening tag, the first HTML tag used to start an HTML element. The tag type is surrounded by opening and closing brackets, which you see here. Really straightforward. The content can be anything from text to other elements. So what you'll learn here in a second is that you can put tags or elements inside of other elements. So for example, we can put a image element inside of a link element, right? So just imagine if you want when somebody clicks on a picture to be taken to another page, right? So you can start nesting. That's what we call it, nesting, or putting images and elements inside of other elements. It gets really cool, really powerful, and you can nest a lot of elements inside of other elements, which we'll show you. I'll show you in a second. And then of course we have the closing tag. The big difference about the opening tag and closing tag, like you see, is this slash, this /. This tells the browser, I'm done with this tag, okay? I only want this paragraph to start here and end here, all right? That's key right there. You have to close your tags. If you don't close your tag, the browser doesn't know when to stop treating things like the opening tag. So if you don't close it, everything after that P tag will get treated like a paragraph. And I'll show you an example why that's important in a second, because you can kind of mess up your website if you don't. Like, it will look weird. Let me show you in a second. So let's click the next lesson. And let's go. So over here, we're going to start with the body tag, right? The body tag is the most important element on a page, because everything inside of the body is what's actually shown on the browser, on the web page, right? So usually a web page starts off like this. This is the basic structure of a web page. You have HTML open tag, and then you have an HTML close tag. A body tag, this is like the bare minimum of what you need to build your website. So pretty much what's happening here is you're telling the browser that this is an HTML document, because remember, the browser just reads from top to bottom. So you're telling the browser that this is an HTML document. You need to tell it that, because if not, it doesn't know how to render the elements onto a page, right? It needs to know that it's an HTML document and not just a regular image document, not just PDF document, not a spreadsheet, not an XML document, which is a different type of document, like just a way to display data. Nothing important right now. There's just different type of things that a browser can show. So from the very beginning, we need to let it know that this is an HTML document. So this is what just the bare minimum. Inside of the HTML document, you put a body tag. If you notice, I indented because body is like pretty much a child element of HTML. It's inside of the HTML element. Anything that you put here will show up on a screen. Anything you put outside of here will not show up on the screen. Okay, so it's very important. So anything that you want to show up on a page, make sure it's within its opening and closing body element. So only content inside of the opening and closing body tags can be displayed on the screen. Here's what's opening and closing body look like. Cool. Because we're in Code Academy, we really don't need this HTML. So I'm going to delete it. On your regular documents, you will need it, but we'll talk about that later. Once the file has a body, many different types of content, including text, images, and buttons, can be added to the body. Okay. Like this over here. So inside of their body, they put a P tag. P stands for paragraph. They want to put some paragraph text, which says, "What's up, Doc?" Cool. So the instructions for this, the lessons here is add a body to your web page using a body element, right? Cool. Add the following code between your opening and closing body tags. I'll just copy and paste it just to save some time. When you do this yourself, type it. That way you get used to typing this code. You get used to opening your body tag, get used to closing it like this. I like to tell people is always just before you even add text in between here, just open it, close it. That way you get used to it, because you do not want to miss this close tag. You'll pay for it later. You'll have errors in the browser and your website won't look like you want it to. So you'll have to go back and fix it. So just get used to opening, closing, and then type your stuff in between. Cool, let's click run. It works. We have this paragraph that says hello world. We have another paragraph that has a quote. Straightforward. Any questions, just let me know. Click next. All right, so let's start talking about structure. So now on this lesson, they actually added this is the real template of what it looks like, right? This is what it looks like. They don't have the body tag. Cool. So pretty much what's happening here is we're telling the browser to, this is like a basic template of what every single HTML website will look like. You're gonna have this up here, which is pretty much telling the browser what version of HTML to use. Right now, we're currently at HTML5. Like I said, it's been around for a little while now, a couple decades. We had HTML4, had something called XHTML. There's a few different ones, but really all you have to do is always type this at the top of your document, and the browser will know to use the latest version of HTML, which is what we always want to use anyway. So this is saying, what's the document type? HTML, and it knows to use HTML5. So what I do is usually I add this to a template document. You can call it template.html. And that way, anytime you start a new document, a new web page, you just have to copy and paste this, and now you have a good start. Okay. So HTML, like I said, I told you, this just tells the browser to use HTML. The difference between this first line and the second line is this tells the browser to use a certain version of HTML. This tells the browser that this is an HTML document. The reason why you have to add both is because you don't have to add this one. You can have it just like this and your web page will still work fine. This is just telling you if you want to add an optional version, which is important too. So always add both of these two lines. HTML open tag, HTML close. Then we have something here called the head tag, the head element. The head element is pretty much just It's telling the browser to think ahead, right? We're going to be adding stuff here later on, not right now. That's pretty much styles the website. That makes the website look better, or that adds more functionality to the website. Over here, we just put like images and text. Up here is where we're going to put more functionality, right? More styling, like from CSS, which we'll talk about. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. So think of HTML as the skeleton, right, of a body, of a human body. Then think of CSS as the style on that human body. So a t-shirt, jeans, sneakers, glasses, right? This is where the style comes at. We're going to be using this to make our website look like something. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. No rush, but I just want you to know is the CSS is a different type of language. It's going to go here. We're going to be typing CSS in between its head tag. All right, and then of course the body is where all of our main content goes that we want to be displayed on the website. All right, so let's get into the structure. As you saw in the last exercise, we place P tags within the body tags. When an element is contained inside another element, it is considered the child of that element, okay? The child of that element. So right now, head is a child of HTML because it's inside of it. Body is also a child of HTML element because it's a side of it. It's nested inside of it, right? It's in between the open and close tags. So some elements can have multiple children, like HTML. It has a child here and it has a child here. Don't get caught up in the terminology, but I do want you to start thinking about it like a family tree. Head and body are pretty much siblings because they're next to each other. They're not nested inside of each other. So they're considered siblings. All right. In this example above from this one here, the P element is nested inside the body element. The P element is considered a child of the body element, and the body element is considered the parent, okay? Because the P is inside, so it's considered the parent. You can also see where we've added 2 spaces of indentation using a space bar for better readability. So anytime you put a child inside of it, like an element inside of another element, you always want to indent a little bit. All right, you just want to indent just a little so you can see that how these elements are related. This element is actually inside of this other one. If we didn't do that, it will be kind of hard to tell where something starts and stops, what's grouped together and what's not. And we'll talk about that more here in this next lesson too. You guys are following along pretty good. No questions. This is good. This is really, really good. I'm excited. That means I'm doing something right. Okay, the P element, we did that already. Since there can be multiple levels of nesting, this analogy can be extended to grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and beyond, which means you can have elements inside of other elements. You don't have to remember what's a grandchild and what's a great-grandchild. Instead, just let it just naturally just start thinking that elements can be wrapped inside of other elements for good reason too, which we'll talk about. The relationship between elements and their ancestors and descendants can be is known as hierarchy, right? Which we'll talk about. Let's consider a more complicated example that uses some new tags. So I'm going to go and type this over here. This goes inside of the body element. And I want to indent right. So right here, we have something called a div element, right? You see this here? It's called div. Div stands for division, or what it does is it divides the web page into certain blocks, into certain groups, right? It's going to be probably the most used element that you use, right? We're going to use this a lot because on a web page, once again, we talk about structure. This is the main structuring element. It's literally nothing but a big rectangle. It's just groups elements, right? It's just telling the browser I want you to group these elements together. So right here, in between this opening div and this closing div, we group together these elements. And I'm going to indent them a little bit. So I highlight and press the tab key and it indents them. I want to indent them because I want it to be easier seeing that these things are related to each other, that these are children of the div element. All right. So one of the children is a H1, right, which is a heading, right? It's just a big heading. And then another element is a P tag, which is just a paragraph. So let's run that. And what you'll see is we have a big heading and we have a paragraph, right? So H1 is a child of div. Div is a child of body. So that means H1 is what to body? Tell me what you guys think. H1 is what to the body tag? I haven't used this yet. Let's see. The child, the grandchild, the grandchild. Okay, so everybody who said grandchild is correct. All right, let's explain why. It is a child, but it's the grandchild. So H1's parent is the div. H1's grandparent is the body, right? The parent is the one right above it. The one even further up is the grandparent. So that means body has a grandchild called H1. Okay, cool. All right. Yep. Great. Great. Cool, Shantla. Cool, Crystal. Wait, so everybody look like they got it. Did we see div in action here or not yet? So far you haven't really seen div in action. Right now it's just wrapping these elements together. Uh, we'll talk about div in a second. We're going to get to, I think in lesson 6, we're going to talk about divs more. But right now I want you to get used to what a div is. Over here on our wireframe, every single one of these elements is wrapped in a div. So this big hero image is pretty much inside of a div. Then we have another div that says down here, I want to put another big block, and I just want to put something in the middle of that block called the opening statement. Down here, I want another, like right here, this is a huge div, right? And inside of that div, we have 3 other smaller divs, right? So this will be a div here as well inside of it. And then inside of that div, we have a product. We have an image, we have a text, we have a description, right? And then we put another div over here and another div. So this is just a way to group content. It becomes second, it becomes really natural to get used to this as you go along. And before divs, there was something called tables. That's how people structure these websites, but it really was bad. It didn't translate good on mobile devices. It's hard to keep up with because with a table, you needed rows and columns. It became ugly really, really quick. All right. So I'm excited that they came up with divs. I remember when it first became kind of a thing. I think it was HTML5 actually, or 4. Let me see. When did divs start? Get used to Googling, guys. I Google everything. Programmers Google everything. Okay, it was HTML4. It was not until HTML4 that it became part of the HTML language, appearing in HTML4 in 1997. Oh, wow. So, but it didn't become popular to probably like the 2000s sometime. Like people were still using tables heavy, and maybe because it was just education, maybe the colleges, these boot camps, and these online tutorials were still telling people to use divs because I didn't start seeing divs heavy until maybe 2008, 2009, something like that. So yeah, this is just the structure. Divs are going to be really cool. You'll get used to them. We'll talk about them more soon. How did you get div/div to be horizontal versus vertical? Oh, you mean like these elements to be side by side? We'll talk about that soon too. That's called alignment. And that's the cool thing. That comes down to structure. We're going to have to align these elements, and you can tell it. You can tell it either I want things to be vertical, stacked on top of each other, like I want a bunch of images going down, or I want them to be side by side. So we'll talk about how to do that soon. Probably not in this lesson. We'll talk about that in lesson 2. Let's see. Understanding HTML hierarchy is important because child elements can inherit behavior and styling from their parent element. You'll learn more about web page hierarchy when you start digging into CSS. They want us to wait, but I want to jump into this right now. I'm going to give you an example of why this hierarchy is important. I don't want to wait because if we're going to talk about hierarchy and grandchildren and children, I want you to see immediately why this is important. All right, so let's say with this div element, we can add an attribute to it. So this is jumping ahead too, but don't worry too much about it. But pretty much an attribute is just giving an extra skill or extra bit of sauce to this element, right? So an attribute, for example, what people is, my attributes may be, I know how to speak, I know how to code, I know how to run, right? Attributes aren't always unique. So even with HTML, some elements can all have the same attribute. They all can share the same attribute. Just like us as people, we can share the same attribute. But then there's other ones that are unique to certain elements that are they're unique to certain people. So for example, we can have a style attribute. And with that, what you do is you go inside of this opening tag. Don't worry about it right now. We'll get to it. I'll break this down in more detail. But you go inside of it right before the close angle bracket. You type style. And what I want to do is I want to say, I want the text color. So you just type text color to be red, right? So I'm saying this div, everything inside of this div should be red. Color should be red. So I click run. Now all of the text is red, right? That's simple. The cool thing is, like I said, now this H1 tag is inheriting the attributes of the div. If what I could have did is I could have just said, you know what, just make my H1, copy and paste that. Just make my H1, let me make sure we can see this here good. Just make my H1 red. So when I click run, you'll see just the H1 is red, not the P tag, right? But what we did the first time was we said, no, let's do it on a div level. That way all of the children inherit that attribute. So just imagine having the kids and you have really, really curly, kinky hair. Your children will probably have really, really curly, kinky hair as well. And that's the same thing that's happening right here with this HTML. But this is something cool. We can also go in here and say, you know what? For the most part, everything in here, I wanted to inherit the div's attributes. But for this P tag, I want to do something a little bit different. Instead, I want this text to be blue. Hit run, and now you'll see the H1 is still red because it's inheriting the style from its parent. The P said we're going to add something a little bit different to it. We're going to add some different style to it, and then and it's going to be a little bit different. So it's really, really cool how this works right here. You'll start seeing the power of hierarchy and how these things can either be more specific or just general. So in this situation, we could have just kept everything to be inherited from the parent, just a div. So I just want to do an example that's getting ahead, but I think you guys can handle it. I really think you guys can handle it. So that's why I jumped ahead a little bit. Because I think it's important to understand why are we talking about hierarchy? Why is this even important? Okay. So let's see what they want us to do for this. The instructions, add a paragraph below as a child of the div element. I'll get rid of this. Also want to get rid of this. I'm going to jump in here. Cool. Okay, cool. So that's the instructions. They want us to add a paragraph element to the child of the div element. Cool, we did that. Click run. Looks good. If something is not right, Code Academy will give you an error message and you will not get a green check over here. All right, so it's important to just to try to get that green check and just follow these directions really good. Sometimes what's wrong is you forget to add the closing P. Once again, you forget to just put that slash there and close that tag off. And you'll notice too, you see what happens when I don't add it? We get a little error message here telling us that we're missing our closing tag. The text editor that I'll show you guys how to use where you'll be coding at will also give you error messages like this. Sometimes it won't catch the error, so you'll have to just be on point and catch it yourself. But what a good indicator is sometimes like this. Let's say I don't close my P tag and I don't close my div tag, right? Now look, my body is like half white, half red. Something is wrong here. Same thing with my HTML. Like, why is the colors not like everything else? This is a great indicator that something is wrong. And usually it's that you're missing the closing tag. Your websites are going to get very long. You're going to have a bunch of text, a bunch of HTML, a bunch of elements. So sometimes you won't be able to see that you didn't close a tag. But what you will see is that the color scheme starts changing. The text editors that you'll be using will have like this color coordination for you. It helps you out. It really, really helps. So pay attention to it. Use it to your advantage. If something looks white like this or a different color from what it should be, that's an indicator that something is wrong. So you go in here now, I'm like, okay, you know what? I look like I'm missing my P tag. Okay. One thing you'll notice too, you'll notice if it's really light, but when I click on div, the opening and the closing tags both highlight. So that way you know, like, okay, this shows you where it closes. Let's say I have a bunch of divs on my screen, which you'll get to soon. You need to know like where each one opens and closes. P and P. It says, okay, this P opens here, closes here. All right, so that's another way to kind of help you see it. Are you closing your elements? If I don't have this here, if I don't close that, you see like nothing else highlights with it. The closed div doesn't highlight because it's no open close. Cool. So once again, I'm just kind of jumping ahead just because I think you guys can do this. You guys got this. It's not that important. I mean, it's not that difficult. All right, cool. So we're going to run it next. This next document, we're going to jump into headings. Because I jumped ahead earlier, you guys already get what headings are, but let's read over it a little bit. Headings in HTML are similar to headings in other types of media. For example, in newspapers, large headings are typically used to capture a reader's attention. Okay, so let's go back to our wireframe first, right? Our opening statement is probably going to have a heading. Our hero image probably is going to have a heading. Let me go back over here to one of my websites. Our future, right? This is a heading. It stands out. This makes people like it grabs people's attention. Okay, grabs people's attention. This is key words that I want people to keep in their mind when they're going through this website. Okay. Come down here, wear your future. That's a heading. Your future looks amazing. This is things that I want them to really gravitate towards. Okay. I will fly. The Spike collection. So you'll get used to using these headings strategically. Other times headings are used to describe content like the title of a movie or an educational article. Cool. Straightforward. HTML follows a similar pattern. In HTML, there are 6 different headings or heading elements, right? Headings can be used for a variety of purposes like titling sections, articles, or other forms of content. The following is a list of heading elements available in HTML. They are ordered from largest to smallest in size. Got H1 used for main headings. All other smaller headings are used for subheadings. Just let that soak in. The following example code uses a headline intended to capture a reader's attention. It uses largest heading available, the HTML heading element. So H1. Cool. These are the instructions for the lesson. Now that you know how to structure HTML elements, will you spend the rest of the lesson building an informational website using some of the most common HTML elements? They put some on the page to get us started, which are these over here. All right, so nothing really crazy. You'll go through this as well yourself. Yours will be blank when you get started. No, there'll be a couple actually. There'll be a couple. So I just want you to get used to. Oh, nice. Never noticed that. Cool. More advanced stuff. Cool. All right, sweet. So we'll be getting into that soon. Yeah, so just go through this exercise, type the elements out. Try not to do copy and paste and actually type it out so you get used to it. All right, now this is the section about divs. You guys are kind of already good and know about divs. What I want to do is I want to go back. I want to copy and paste this. This is what it's supposed to start with. You're not going to have to do this. Yours is already going to be ready when you get in there. This is just me doing some extra stuff with a prior class. Cool. So divs, one of the most popular elements is the div is short for division or container. I like to use the word container that divides the page into sections. These sections are very useful for grouping elements in your HTML together. Check this out. We have a div. Why I use div is great for grouping elements. Okay. Divs can contain any text or other elements such as links, images, or videos. The key thing here is that it can contain any text or HTML elements, any. Some elements can't contain other elements, right? You cannot put a heading inside of a paragraph. It just doesn't make sense, and then it also won't work in your web page. So when you're nesting different elements together, you need to be careful. If I try to add a P tag around this H1 element, you see this right here, this color coordination is off because it's like, what are you trying to do? How are you putting a heading inside of a paragraph? It just doesn't make sense, okay? You shouldn't put a image tag inside of a paragraph tag. It just really doesn't make sense. I mean, inside of a H1, you don't want to put an image inside of a heading. They're two totally separate elements. As using the HTML, etc., in a realistic setting, is it normally side by side? Is what normally side by side? Can you clarify what you mean by is it normally side by side? And then I'll keep on going. So yeah, that's just key thing right there is to understand that any element can be inside of a div. Remember to always add 2 spaces of indentation when you nest elements inside of a div, which we'll do here in a second. So instructions, how it's displayed. What is it? I'm still kind of confused about as using HTML in a realistic setting is only side by side. You mean the content like images and buttons and stuff like that? It's really up to you. It's up to whatever your wireframe look like. The wireframe that you get is going to tell you how to display content. It's going to tell you. So for example, this is a big div here, this hero image, and then its opening statement is a div as well. The div is telling us right now to put this image on top of this other div. So it wants it vertical. Sometimes we're going to want them side by side. If you're talking about the code being side by side, yeah, I'm still not sure what you mean. As you talking about the text editor being side by side, are you talking about the elements being side by side like this? Usually you don't want them on the same line. You want it to be like this. Div, space, indent 2 times, so that's 2 spaces. Put your other element and then you close it off. Usually if you're talking about how this is displayed over here, this whole layout, it won't be side by side. Instead, this editor is going to be a separate window by itself, and then this browser is going to be a separate window. So this is going to be a whole different app by itself. I'm going to teach you guys how to download your own programs to code in, and then the browser is a whole separate one. So browsers are like Safari, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer. Try to stay away from that if you can. Safari, I said, Firefox. Cool. Glad we got that clarified. Cool. So they want us to, below the H1 tag, that the heading that says brown bear, add a div tag. So I did that wrong. It's a below this here, add a div element. A div tag. Place the closing div tag after the H3 element that says features. So after the closing H3 that says features. Now this is what it looks like, but I need to indent so we can tell what's grouped together. So 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here. Now we can see that this is all one group of elements. Also, what I like to do is add an extra little space in between so we can really see what goes together. It's okay to add space in between here. The browser doesn't do anything but skip over it. It doesn't add any extra space for you. It doesn't do anything special. It's just really just for you. So that way you can organize your files better and it looks more structured. It's mainly for the coder. The indentation is only for the coder. As we get deeper into programming like Python and Ruby, which are some other backend languages, the indentation actually makes a difference. You need to indent a specific way. But don't worry about that right now. But it's good to get used to indenting now. So that way, once you get to those languages, it makes sense. All right, cool. Above the H2 element that says habitat, add an opening div tag. So that's here, bracket, close, and then close the div tag after the H3 element that says countries with small brown bear populations. Here we go, close that, H3. Oops, I messed that up. This is actually a closed div. Here you go. Cool. And then we have to remember to add our indentation, 2 spaces. You can add as many as you want, really. 2 it should be sufficient. Cool. Above the H2 element that says media, add that tag, and then close it right before the body tag. The body tag should also always be at the bottom. And then there's always going to be an HTML too, but they're just not using HTML because using inside of Code Academy, so you don't have to. Cool. So that's that for that one. You click run. You'll notice nothing really changes here. Nothing changes at all. But I'll show you something. This is where I started going and talking about block elements. So div is a block element. You have block elements and non-block elements. Only thing that means is it's pretty much a rectangle, right? Some elements are rectangle, some aren't really that big. They're just like, I'll show you better than I tell you. So let's say I wanted to, I'll show you that this is a block element. I can prove it by adding a border to this element. So let's say I want to give a border to my div. Only thing you do is type border. You say how thick you want the border to be. You want it to be a solid or dotted border. And then what color do you want the border to be? I'll say green, right? I click run and boom. Now you see the big rectangle around this element. Because now you can really see that, oh, the div element is really a block. It's just a block. It's just a big container. It's containing all of these other elements, right? For this other one, I can say style, border, 1 pixel, solid, or no, I'll go dotted. And I want to say pink. Click run. And now, boom, now you can see the border around this one, right? These are block elements. Now let me show you a non-block element. I'll go to the top here. I'll add something called a B element. A B element stands for bold. This just means make my text bold. Bold text, right? Click run. And there we go. We have some bold text, right? Over here, we can have some not bold text so you can see it. Click run, right? Now look at that, right? Check this out. We have not bold text and we have bold text, but they're side by side. Over here, they're not side by side. Actually, I have a space in between them, right? I have a space and they're still next to each other. Why is that? That's because by default, elements are not block elements. They don't take up a whole line. Like this div over here, it takes up a whole line, right? So you need to keep that in mind because as you build these websites, if you want something to be side by side, most divs won't be side by default. Instead, they'll go underneath each other until you tell it to make them side by side, which we'll get to. There's no rush into it right now. I just want you to get used to thinking that a div is a block element. It takes up a whole line. Check this out. So this bold element, if I give it a border, let's see how big the border is. Border, 1 pixel, solid. Let's say it's red. And look how big that border is. The border is literally just around the text. It's not taking up a whole line because a B tag is not a block element. It's just a normal element. what you call a non-block element, whatever you want. So that means any element next to it will go to the side. That would just go side by side. Now, let's say we did want these two elements to be on separate lines. How can we do that? Well, there's another element, excuse me, it's called BR. BR stands for break. So it's telling the browser to just break right here, add a line break, so that these two are not on the same page. We can even add 2 line breaks and say, you know what, give me another space, give me another line. So now you see a little break in between. Break tag is like one of just a handful of tags, maybe 3 or 4 tags, right? That do not have a closing tag, right? Like I said, 99% of tags elements you have to have a closing tag to finish off your opening tag. BR is not that kind of element. It's really kind of like an action element. It's just telling the browser reading through, right? It's reading through your web page, and it says when it gets to BR, the browser know, oh, just add a break, just add a line break. That's it. Oh, add another one. Cool, I can do that. And then you just add this element. So you don't have to worry about adding this right here. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't even exist. You can't even do that. Why? Because if you think about it, most elements that have a closing tag, right, they have text that goes in between them or other content that goes in between them. There's nothing that needs to go here because it's not telling the browser to present information in a certain way. It's just telling the browser to make a line break so that way we can separate things on the separate lines. There's another one as well. Let me see if I can add that one. It's called HR. HR stands for horizontal rule. There's no text that goes in between these elements either. So really it's just a push run. It's just another action. So now you see this line right here. This line is a horizontal rule. It's just a big line. I call it a separator. It can separate content on your website. Okay. So that's really that. What block elements are, what divs are. Divs are used just to control and contain other elements, right? To group these elements together. And divs take up a whole line unless you tell it otherwise, which we'll get to soon. There's a lot of different elements. You do not have to memorize them all. Let me see. I'll look up. Let me see. Popular. Let me see. HTML elements. If I ever wanted to learn how to do something, let me give you a better example. Let's say I wanted to say, how do you make text italics? Oops. Italics and HTML, right? We can go over here. Here go a link. Like I said, get used to Googling, get really used to it. Programmers, we do it all day. We're researching all day. There's no need to memorize all of this stuff, but certain things will stick in your memory. So, so this text is bold, this text is italic, this is a scuff script, this is a superscript. Oh, pretty cool. All right. So this is right here, italic text. It's an I element, right? An I element. So let's go and try that out. Over here, I want to say, open I tag, close I tag, right? And in between, I'm going to say this is italics. Click run. And now we have the italics text right here next to the bold text because I got rid of the BR. Okay. There's not much to it. This is HTML. That's really the foundation of it. It's really straightforward. There's a bunch more tags we're going to be getting into. I just want you guys to start getting your mind wrapped around what it looks like to build these websites, to build these elements, to group them together. And then later on, we'll get to styling them, really making them more structured, like fully controlling them, knowing how to put them exactly where you want them on a website. Okay. And that's it. That's it. That's our lesson for today.